My shift had just started when my father's message came through. Your room belongs to your cousin now. Take your things by Friday or we'll throw them in the trash. I read the message 3 times. Then my mother's message appeared. And don't ever try to come back home again. We have tolerated enough. I was standing behind the counter at the coffee shop with a cup of coffee in my hand. A customer in front of me was changing his order, and those 2 lines glowing on my phone screen were changing my entire life. My name is Emma Collins. I was 28 years old. I lived in Columbus, Ohio, and worked as a supervisor at a small coffee shop. I always thought my home was the one place I could always return to. I was wrong. My father, David Collins, was 55 years old. He was a successful insurance agent. He was great at giving advice to other people, but terrible at treating his own family fairly. My mother, Laura Collins, was 53. She was the kind of woman who could justify anything by saying it was for the family's reputation. My cousin Brandon was 30. He was the person my parents always talked about like he was their own son. He's like our boy, they would say. But that night I realized something. Maybe I wasn't even their daughter in the way I thought I was. I locked my phone. My coworker Jessica looked at me. Emma, are you okay? I answered immediately. Yeah. He kept staring at me. You're lying. I gave a small smile. Maybe. She stepped closer. What happened? I didn't show her my phone. I wasn't embarrassed. I just couldn't believe it. My parents told me to come get my stuff from home. Jessica looked shocked. What? Why? I shrugged. Because my cousin needs my room now. She went quiet. Then she said, You're kidding, right? I wish I was. I finished my shift that night. I didn't argue. I didn't call my father. I didn't answer my mother. Because I knew what they would say. If I reacted immediately they would call me emotional. They always did. But this time I stayed quiet. And sometimes silence is the most dangerous response. Around 2 in the morning I drove to their house. The same house where I had lived for 25 years. The same 2-story white house with the small maple tree in the front yard. I turned off the car. I sat there for a while just looking at it. Then I pulled out an envelope. It looked ordinary. But inside was something my parents had no idea about. I slid the envelope underneath their front door. And on the front I wrote one sentence. You should have found out who the real owner of this house was first. I got back into my car. I didn't knock. I didn't call out. Because I knew their world was about to change the next morning. And for the first time I wasn't going to stop it. My parents always believed I had no power. They thought I was the girl who stayed quiet. The girl who tolerated everything. The girl who apologized first. But there was one thing they didn't understand. I was quiet. I was not weak. The next morning at 7:12 my phone rang. I was getting ready for work. My father's name appeared on the screen. I answered. The first thing I heard was his voice. Emma. What did you do? I stayed silent. Are you listening to me? Yes. He was angry. You need to come here right now. I asked. Why? There was a short pause. Then he said, Do you know your mother is crying? I calmly replied, I'm sorry. He became even more furious. Sorry? That's all you have to say. I sat down in my chair. You kicked me out of the house yesterday. We only told you to clear out your room. No. For the first time I made my voice firm. You told me never to come back again. He went silent. As he remembered. Emma, you don't understand. No, Dad. I said. How I do. Come here right now. My father's voice had that same old command in it. He always spoke like every decision belonged to him. Like my life was another piece of property he had the right to control. I looked out the window. Small pieces of snow were falling outside. It was a cold Columbus morning. People were walking down the street heading to work. Everyone's life was moving forward. Only my family's reality had changed. I quietly said, I'm not coming right now. Silence. Then my father said, Are you kidding me? No. Emma, this isn't the time to be stubborn. I laughed. Stubborn. I held the phone tighter. Dad, when you threw me out of the house last night, was that not stubborn? He didn't answer. For the first time, I realized silence wasn't always on my side. Sometimes people were silent because they had no answer. Why did you leave that envelope? He asked. Because you needed to know the truth. You embarrassed us. I replied, no. I just showed everyone what was already there. He took an angry breath. You have no idea what you've done. I ended the call. It was the first time I had ever interrupted my father. And the strange thing was I didn't feel afraid. I only felt calm. But there was a long history behind all of this. This was not just about a bedroom. It was not just about an envelope. It was about years of things I ignored. When I was young, my father always said everyone in the family was equal. But reality was different. Whenever my cousin Brandon came over, my parents called him their son. Brandon is our boy. I heard that sentence hundreds of times. When I was 16, I wanted to buy my first car. I saved money myself. Brandon wanted a car. My father gave him $5,000. I asked, Dad, you never offered to help me. He replied, you can handle yourself. At the time, I thought it was a compliment. Later, I realized sometimes people call you strong because they don't want to help you. College was the same. My father paid Brandon's tuition. I paid mine through scholarships and a part-time job. When I told my mother it was difficult, she said, you should be proud of yourself. But when Brandon struggled, they immediately went to help him. He's family. That sentence always had a different meaning for me. When they needed me, I was family. When I needed them, I was responsible for myself. So I kept trying. I went home every Thanksgiving. I brought gifts every Christmas. I smiled at every family dinner. I kept thinking maybe one day they would notice. Maybe one day they would understand. But some people don't change until they lose something. And my parents had already started losing. That afternoon my mother called. I looked at my phone. 12 missed calls were already there. I answered. Emma. Her voice sounded weak. The same woman who had ordered me never to come home yesterday was now speaking softly. Yes. We need to talk. About what? She went quiet. Then she said, you know what? I replied, no, Mom. I want to hear you say it. She took a deep breath. Where did you get those documents? I looked outside. So that's what you care about. The documents. Emma, don't misunderstand this. I misunderstood? I said, you kicked me out of the house. You said my room belonged to someone else. That was just something said in anger. I became silent. Because last night when I stood outside that door, I hoped someone would stop me. But nobody did. Not even my mother. Mom, you never stopped me. She didn't say anything. Then she quietly said, you don't know the whole story. I stopped. What do you mean? She said, your father didn't tell you everything. That sentence changed everything. I sat up straight. What didn't he tell me? She paused before answering. About the house. My heart didn't race. I wasn't scared. I just wanted the truth. Tell me. My mother lowered her voice. The house was not only in your father's name. I stayed quiet. Your grandmother bought that house. I closed my eyes. My grandmother. Evelyn Collins. The woman who always treated me differently. She used to tell me, Emma, never let anyone make you feel like you don't have a place in this world. I never thought deeply about those words. My mother continued. Your grandmother created a trust. I asked, for who? She went quiet. Then she said, for you. For a few moments I didn't hear anything. Not the cars outside. Not the clock. Nothing. As suddenly I understood. My father hadn't just tried to give my room to someone else. He had tried to remove me from a place he never fully controlled. I asked, how long have you known? My mother became silent. And that silence answered me. You knew. Emma. You knew. My voice wasn't loud. But it was firm. And you still let them throw me out. She started crying. I didn't want this to happen. I said, but you let it happen. She had no answer. Because that was the truth. The problem wasn't only my father. My mother had supported him every time by staying silent. And sometimes silence is a choice. That evening I received another call. From someone I never expected. My father's attorney. Ms. Emma Collins? Yes. My name is Robert Hall. I handled your grandmother's legal affairs. I became quiet. I need to meet with you. Why? He said, because what your parents found out yesterday is only the beginning. I asked, what else is there? He replied, your grandmother didn't just leave the house. He paused. She left something else for you. The next day I went to his office. And what I learned there changed everything I thought I knew. My parents believed they were throwing me out of my own home. But the truth was, they were only allowed to live there because my grandmother gave them permission. And now that permission was gone. Because the trust had a clear condition. If they tried to force me out of the house, their right to live there would end. My father had sent that angry message himself. And that message had triggered the condition. Robert looked at me. Your father probably didn't realize what he was doing. I said. He never realized how his decisions affected me either. He pushed a file toward me. This decision is yours now. I closed the file. I already knew what I had to do. This time I wasn't going to stay silent. I wasn't doing this for revenge. I was taking back my place. Thank you for staying with this story until the end. If you enjoyed it and believe everyone deserves to stand up for themselves, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful emotional stories. Your support means a lot to us and helps us continue sharing unforgettable stories with you.